Welcome to the Time In Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Time In Podcast, episode 42 this week, I believe.
Yep, 42.
Just myself and Craigie, and what we're talking about this week is news. So there was a few headlines that maybe couldn't justify an episode to themselves, but we thought if we do an episode, we can catch them all in one. How you doing, Craig?
I'm not bad, mate. Just chilling out with a nice bottle of water because we've drank quite a few beers in the last few weeks. If you haven't already, check out the episodes with Basic and with Cool Brewing. They were two of my favourites I've done personally. I don't know about you, mate.
Yeah, they're definitely up there. I mean, drinking, I agree, I'm on coffee tonight. That being said, I told Craig I've got into a bad habit of doing this, so I'll maybe finish work and then I'll say to myself, I'm going to go a run. And I'll go a run and I'll come back, jump in the shower, come out roasting hot, and I think, I really need a drink here. And I open the fridge and there's always a beer sitting. I think, I'm going to have a beer. So I had a wee Loch Lomond, was it Loch Lomond Pale Ale for my dinner? That was nice. That's the first one I've had, actually.
I love Loch Lomond Brewery. Look, we're almost going into a beer episode again already. But
well, to be fair, we did say we'd like to go to that at some point, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So, first things first, bursting into the news is probably the interview. Let's call it the interview. Oprah Winfrey interviewed Prince William and Meghan Markle.
Prince Harry, mate.
Fuck me. Shows you how much I watched it. Did you watch it?
I did, yeah. I actually found it really interesting. I think it can be seen from both sides. It's quite hard to pick up who to believe, but I don't understand how it wouldn't be true if they were going that into that depth. Because let's be honest, Meghan's called the monarchy racist. She said
that's not a light allegation to be making.
Yeah, that doesn't come out of nowhere, so there must have been some sort of comment made. They've not said who it was, but it's been linked that it was Charles, so Harry's dad. The supposed term was that he questioned what colour the child would be at birth, which is pretty ridiculous in this day and age.
It's unacceptable. Yeah. Shouldn't be doing that in the age we live in now. I mean, I spoke to you guys about it midweek. I listened to a Kevin Bridges clip where he said, I don't know how President Trump became President Trump. He says, you know, when he got voted in and people were saying it was because he speaks his mind. He said, there's hundreds of old guys in the pub that speak their mind, but what you do is you let them rant, you put your hand on their shoulder and you go, have a good night, mate, and you walk away. And at some point, somebody should have done that to Trump, and I think probably William or Harry probably should have done that to their dad. Just went, have a good night, mate, and just walked away. It's not alright to say that stuff.
Yeah, I think going to Oprah Winfrey is not the answer.
No.
Like, she could find a story out of nothing, and her business model is to stir up. It's not clout. Is clout the term? The modern term?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she wants to stir up shit pretty much. And obviously anybody's going to lick their lips at that level of an interview, because probably the most famous royal family interview of all time is the one with Diana, when she comes out and tells everyone about there was 3 people in the relationship of the wedding, that she felt as though her life was threatened and all this sort of thing. And a lot of this interview, I don't think it rectified that as extreme, but you could tell that they were really, really upset with the way they'd been treated.
Yeah, they were going for that comparison, I think, between Meghan Markle and Diana. I think they were trying to make that sort of parallel, if you like.
Yeah, I think there's always two sides to look at. Something that's been said, is totally not right. If it was Charles or whoever it was, it's just unacceptable. But I think as a nation, especially the UK, we're quite quick to jump and judge because of what the media tell us. Always take things with a pinch of salt. I'm not going to stick up for the monarchy, not at all. But there's just things that isn't quite right. Like, there's something, there must be more to it, because let's be honest, the Queen, Charles, they aren't stupid enough just to come out and say something like that, because Harry's always been this sort of loose cannon royal. He's always been the kind of adventurous.
And because he knows he shouldn't be the next in line, he's kind of safe to go off the rails a bit.
Yeah, so he's always been that kind of edgy guy, and William's always been the sensible option. And then I think the big thing will be, I know there's been some comments from William, personally, I think William, I'm not a big royalist, not at all. Most Scottish people aren't. But I think William is a really genuine individual. He shows a lot of similarities to his way in which he approached humanity that his mum did, so people relate to him. I think he speaks a lot of sense as well, and I think he's by far the best option we could have as king.
I completely agree.
So I really want to see his perception on it. I think he'll give a really good indication. I think he'll be very smart though, and obviously not side with his brother or his dad, his granny, whatever way you want to go into
a diplomatic approach.
Yeah, but I just feel as though it's not been handled well. There was bits before Harry was saying, "Oh, we're going to leave and cut all ties," and that first stage, they didn't cut all ties. Like, taxpayers' money was still paying them. Now, as supposedly, from what I hear, they are completely cut now. Like, they are taking no money, which I can respect a little bit more now. But aye, but the big thing now is he's made the decision. Don't go back in it. Do not go back in it. And I think the biggest mistake he made, he went through to the Americans. No disrespect to the Americans, but this is very much a British. It's a real British problem. Like, the monarchy, the royal family, it is one of Britain's biggest pools, and I think they should have had that interview first of all within the UK before going to America, because it doesn't transition too well with British people. Like, they want to see it from their perspective, and you know, everything in America is kind of bigged up and it's a lot more theatrical, is probably fair to say.
We would say something is typically Americanized, which just means it's scaled up and it's sort of blown up in terms of proportion, which I think this was. Yeah,
and I think Oprah was definitely probing for a story. She was looking for something that she could use, something that hit the headlines. So I don't know, what's your thoughts? I've talked quite a lot on it.
I tell you, at first I thought, oh, they're getting negative media attention. I thought, right, she's an actress. He's in the royal family. They're no strangers to sort of bad press, if you like. But then I was thinking, the amount of money they must have, why would they leave? And then when I read some stuff, like not necessarily articles, but comments on articles about it, and they were saying, she is by far the worst member of the royal family. There's a fucking paedophile in the royal family.
I didn't even touch on it. Like, they're saying it's the worst thing to ever happen to the royal family, saying that Philip's dying. By the way, the photos I sent you earlier of Philip being released from hospital. What the fuck?
That cunt died years ago. That is a zombie.
For anybody who hasn't seen, go online and search the images. Like, he does not look human. He's not a healthy man. But like, the royal family saying, "Oh, it's the worst thing ever," and you've got Andrew sitting there going, "That's me off, boys. I'm all okay. I can just get on with it now." And you're like,
absolutely nonsense about still. Why the fuck is he even? Right, I won't rant. That cunt should be in jail. But so sorry. When I heard that, and I'm thinking, that's the kind of negative press they're getting. And then they said it's having negative effects on their mental health. Of course it is. If that's the extent people are going to, and let's face it, it is relentless. This just caused it to spike. So if I was them, I'd be thinking, fuck this, I'm leaving. 100%. I would just take myself, and bearing in mind I've got a family now, take the family out of the situation. Fine.
Can't go back in it, that's the big thing. You cannot go back in that decision. Once you've made it, if you want respected, you need to stick to it.
They let Andrew back, is that?
He's always been the Queen's favourite child. That's always been quite public. They've always had a really close relationship. One thing I would say though, going on to the Queen, there is no question the Queen is not a racist. In my personal opinion, she's done so, like, a lot of people say she hasn't done anything, she doesn't earn a wage. Okay, she probably gets overpaid, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But she has worked massively over the last fucking 80 years for the Commonwealth all over the world, and has worked with, I think it's fair to say, lesser what's the phrase? Less developed countries, the likes of Ghana, etc. And she has generally tried to build a relationship with these people. There's no way that she's racist. It's been a comment from someone out with her, I think, personally.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it would have been her. I think most likely it's probably his dad that's done it.
Charles is a fucking prick. Like, there's no other way about it. Charles is a knob. He has been a knob.
The Crown again.
By the way, that is a good point. Don't go by The Crown. The Crown is a very, very entertaining series, and I really enjoyed watching it. Do not take that as facts.
See, I think Prince Harry said it quite well. He went, yes, it's based on the events of the royal family, but it's not all true. It's TV.
It's exaggerated to make it entertaining. Everything is exaggerated.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think that kind of covers that topic. I think what's happening is unacceptable. I don't think they deserve the flack they're getting. The fact that they've left, fine. I would do the same. I don't think they deserve the flack they're getting. I think they have been mistreated by the monarchy.
Agreed.
But again, it's behind closed doors. We'll never know unless by some miracle we end up in the royal family, which I doubt.
Bundy's probably got ties somewhere. He's probably... Oh, I bet made a terrible joke. I'm not even going to finish that sentence, sorry. I'm not even going to finish that.
I was thinking all on the same lines there. Let's skip that.
It was going to be Pizza Express, and then I was like, no, we'll just stop it there.
Okay, let's move on. So, next thing I want to speak about is boxing. So, allegedly,
yes.
AJ Fury a contract has been signed.
Correct.
But I've since watched some footage. So Tyson Fury's getting interviewed and he says, yeah, I've heard about this fight today, and he kind of jokes about how he's drinking 12 pints a day or 12 bottles of Stella a day, and he could beat Fury 14 pints deep, which I believe he probably that man could probably beat AJ even if he'd had 14 pints. I reckon he's a monster when he's steaming. 100%. But he said he didn't know that it had been signed. Has it then?
I think I am with what a lot of the fan base are saying in this. I'll believe it when the date's there. I think there's been some sort of agreement. I think what's probably happened, they've probably agreed on a location. I think they've agreed on Dubai. Both parties,
I think one of the only viable options.
Yeah, I think both of them have said, both parties have said, we're happy to have the fight in Dubai, we're happy to have it in Dubai. And then somebody's went, fight's on, and it's like, no, it's not that simple. Is it going to happen? Yes. Going back to our boxing episode again, I'm plugging episodes like a madman today. Check out our boxing episode. It was 4 episodes ago now. I think it'll happen. I still don't think it'll happen this year. I still think it's too tight. And again, I'm really concerned the longer it's taking, the more it's going to affect Fury, because he's not fought since what? A year?
He looked in good shape. Have you seen him?
I've not. I've seen obviously the stuff of him running in Morecambe Beach, and he looks heavy. But
no, I've seen a picture of him looking quite thin.
I didn't.
It was in an interview video. He looked quite drawn in. He didn't look.
There's one of him.
He's got clothes on, so you can't tell what his build's actually like. But it didn't look too bad.
There's one of him on Instagram, which was late January, early February, and he's out of shape. Like, he is out of shape. But the fact is, most boxers generally put on weight then lose it again during camp and get back in shape. Just look at the fucking Nick Andy Ruiz. He loses like 2 pound, and the Daily Stars puts up.
Have you seen that guy?
It's the angles, mate. Mate, it's angles, because every photo is taken top view like this, and he never ever spars without his top on. He never works it with his top on. I'm the worst person to talk to about Andy Ruiz, because I really, really find him disappointing, because he has the ability, the skill. He has one of the best coaches in boxing. But he let the money get to him too quickly, and he ballooned and got smashed off AJ. So,
see, if he had trained instead of partying between the 2 fights, I think he could have given him a run for his money again.
It would have been much closer.
All the momentum was behind him.
He's got a lot. I think the only way he gets his credibility back is if he fights Wilder and beats him. That would be for the big American. I know he's not American, I know he's Mexican, but for that side of the world, I think that's the big fight to kind of get them both in the limelight. Like, I know Wilder's still talking about Dillian White. Fucking no, I know he spoke about AJ. I think Ruiz is the fight there. It needs to happen. But I'm going off. Sorry, I'm going off tangent.
No, that's perfect. I think you've got like a good East and West kind of battle doing that. That being said, I think at some point, even if AJ beats Fury, he needs to go across the pond and beat Wilder, in my opinion, to validate his position.
If AJ beats Fury, yeah, I agree with that. Fury doesn't need to fight him again. Fury's proven it twice. Supposedly, the fight is a 2-match deal. That's what everybody's saying, which I find really strange. It's quite a strange one. I thought it'd be 3. I kind of hope it's one.
An odd number. That's all I thought.
I hope it's 1. I hope it's 1 fight, and then it allows Fury to retire. I definitely see him going into some sort of media job, whether it be on
100%.
BBC or ITV. I could totally see him doing something like that. Not the likes of Tony Bellew. Fuck you, Tony Bellew, if you're listening. I just
obviously a long time
listener, Tony Bellew. Fuck you. But I could totally see him going into that, and I think AJ then, even if he loses to Fury, then becomes the staple of boxing again. And I think
whatever happens in this fight, he becomes the big name. Unfortunately, him and Wilder are the two big names, and because they've both been beaten off Fury, if that's the case, they need to fight to work out who's the top dog. That's the way I see it. And even if he does win, if AJ beats Fury, he then needs to fight Wilder to sort of validate it, in my opinion. But
yeah,
hypotheticals at this stage, the fight, it might not even be to the end of this year, and in which case, we're properly shoving the timeline along when you're looking at these two guys' careers.
But again, we're looking on a crystal ball because of COVID restrictions. It could change at any point. I've not seen the interview yet. I follow Boxing Social. If you haven't already, it's a really good YouTube channel. And they've interviewed Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's the master of not giving an answer. He should be a politician. But I want to have a look at that and see, because to be honest, he will kind of say if it's agreed or not. But let's be honest, we all just want it to happen. But all the headlines just take it with a pinch of salt, because they've been talking about the fight since last year. Like, there's papers, fucking online media sources, all this, they're looking for something to talk about and they're scraping at the barrel. Do not take it as a confirmed answer until you get a date and the location. That's when you know it's on. Yeah, agreed. So, for the next thing I wanted to talk about, because it actually affects a friend of ours. I don't know if he'll be listening to this, but I seen him today saying that he was trying to get a GPU and they were meant to come back into stock today. He got up at 5:30 in the morning. This is you, Alex, if you're listening. And he got up at 5:30 in the morning, and by the time it opened, they had sold out. Now, we're all well aware of the GPU shortage, whether it's myself, Craig, Bundy, or I know Camba's been, he got his PC recently as well. There is a GPU shortage. However, I was relatively clueless about the subject until quite recently. Turns out what a lot of GPUs are used for is Bitcoin mining. Did you know that? No, you told me this during the week, and we discussed doing a sort of news-themed episode, because we love watching True News. Big shout out to True Geordie. And you told me this, and I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
So you need to tell me about it, because I don't have a clue.
Well, this is an issue because I'm quite clueless about the subject as well, but I do know, thanks to Linus Tech Tips YouTube channel, GPUs are used for mining Bitcoin. Obviously, when you look at the value, I mean, Tesla bought, was it 1.5 million or billion shares of Bitcoin they bought? And they made more money off that than they did from all their car sales ever.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That is frightening. But regardless, in fact, I want to keep talking about crypto in a wee second. So, apparently you can use GPUs to mine. I don't know that maybe the 3070, 3080, 3090 aren't necessarily the best. I think you get specific ones for mining, but it's the parts that are used to make those ones that are making the rest so scarce. But go check out Linus Tech Tips if you want to know about that, because if you can't get a GPU, that's potentially why.
I feel so old. See, when you start talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I am like the worst person. I'm just like, what? I have no idea how it works. I've seen, obviously, YouTubers, guys like KSI and stuff talk about it, and I'm just sitting there like, I have no idea what's going on. I
mean, when KSI said in an interview that they were asking him, what did you make most money on last year? Was it your music, the boxing, or YouTube? And he went, Bitcoin. The interviews were, Bitcoin? I mean, if he's doing it, Tesla's doing it, you need money to make money, that kind of saying. Yeah. But so, Bundy, I wish he was here for this, because he would be able to give you the facts and numbers here. So, there's a cryptocurrency called Dogecoin. Now, I think it was a bit of a gimmick currency, if you like. But there's all these sort of big names trying to campaign to get it to reach $1. Last I checked, it was 3 cents or 30 cents. It was really low. And it's been rocketing up and down. And then the goal was to get it to reach $1. And I know a few people that have quite significant amounts of it, so that when it does reach the idea is if it ever does reach $1, they'll have made hundreds or thousands on it, based on like a £30 investment. However, this is the issue. In my head, if the campaign is to get that to reach $1, when it gets to $1, everyone's going to offload. They're going to sell it because that's, in theory, reached its goal and it's peaked. Whenever it gets to 0.9, I'd be saying, right, time to offload. Because when it reaches $1, everyone's got to sell and the value's got to plummet. So I would think, right, get in early, sell it quick. Everyone's got to do that. So it's constantly got to hit that buffer of 0.8, 0.9, and it's never got to reach $1, in my opinion. But yeah, it's quite fascinating. If you're not into cryptocurrency, there's a few channels worth watching, a few sites you can use to track it. If you do your research, I think it's quite easy to make money on it because there's quite clear peaks and troughs and when they happen and why they happen. Obviously, it's a bit like the stock market. There's an unpredictable element to it, but yeah, it's definitely worth looking into if you're interested in stocks at all.
I need to research it properly because I have so many people speak to me about it and I'm just like, what? It was like when people started talking to me about TikTok, I was like, wow, I'm now old. I don't get this.
I still don't get TikTok. The only TikTok interaction I have is when Bundy sends a TikTok into the group chat, which is
same as me.
Pretty much daily. It's one of these things. I think it is worth looking into if you're interested in that sort of thing. If you're interested in gambling, go to the bookies, put an accumulator on the football, in my opinion.
I would agree with that one as well, mate. Or actually, I'm not going to touch on that because I think you might mention it in the next few points anyway. So,
okay. So the next point I wanted to talk about was the vaccine. Now, that's been rolled out quite extensively. I know a lot of people have had it, including my parents, which have now had it. And the day before they went to get it, there was a big scare, and a lot of countries in Europe pulled the vaccine and stopped administering it because there was a fear that there was blood clots caused by it. Bear this in mind, this is the numbers I've got. There was a few million of the vaccine administered, a few million doses, and there was 35 cases of blood clots, which these European countries that pulled the vaccine paused administering it to go investigate to see if there was a direct link. Now, even if there was a direct link, that's an acceptable risk to me. 35 out of a million.
Yeah, because
1 million.
The other option is we continue like we're doing. Businesses can't forecast or operate at full potential. Mental health's probably at an all-time low. The sporting community, the hospitality community, like, the list is unbelievable. The world cannot continue behind closed doors. It's too long now. Too many people have lost their jobs. Again, COVID is horrible. I'm not touching it too much, but my mum works as close to COVID as she can. She works within infection control. And it's still killing people. It's still jumping up and down, especially the part of Scotland I stay in. It's actually increasing quite a lot at the moment. But she says the same thing. Life needs to go on, and this is someone who deals with it every day. She says you cannot hide behind closed doors anymore. You need to work out a way to have a minimum risk. There's always going to be a risk, but there's a risk to everything. Life is a risk. There's so many things you can risk in life, and I tell you for one thing, and I've been quite fortunate during lockdown. I've been furloughed from a job which I was paid the whole time, and they were really good. They paid 90%. I actually found a new job during that as well, which I had a much better work-life balance, and it's a lot healthier. I managed to do the podcast and stuff, and I'm still at the stage that I'm like, I need life back to normal now. So you can only imagine, like, parents try to homeschool, people who have lost their job. Like, it's just like one of the things at the moment, especially in Scotland, is that look at teachers. Like, teachers just got told, right, we're going back to school. There's no different guidelines. It's just a case of, yes, they've staggered ages and that coming back, but they're like, well, what is going on here? Like, kids aren't getting the vaccine. But again, you need to look at it and say, do we run, what is that as a percentage? What was that, 30 to a million?
Yep.
Like, it's down to personal preference, but
could be a few million, but it's at least a million.
No, I think the chances of it causing blood clots are very, very slim. I think there will be negative impacts. Certainly, some people I've spoke to, my mum and dad have had it. They were both okay though. A gentleman at my work, he's probably late 50s. He was really ill after it, really sore head, fever and stuff, but it's cleared up. I've heard a few people having minor sort of feedback. But to give you an example, I got the flu jab a couple of years ago from work. They were giving it out for free. I was floored for like 2-3 days. I was so ill, but then afterwards, obviously you've built up that immunity, so...
It's strange you say that, because people I've spoke to have either had no reaction, or it's like a cold for a few days, just achy joints, bits that are sore or sorer. Sore head seems to be common, and people that have just had absolutely nothing. But I mean, I don't know what it's like personally. I've never had like an immunisation even for the flu. At my work one day, closest I came, someone came up to me with a clipboard and they went, "Do you want a flu jag?" And I was like, "What now?" And they went, "No, you sign up now and you would get it the next few days." I was like, "No, I'm alright." Do I want a needle in my arm? Probably no.
It sounds like some dodgy deal, and it sounds like he's trying to...
It wasn't just somebody rocking up.
Someone just comes in my pocket,
really syringes.
Do you want a flu jab?
No, it was legit, but I was just like, nah, I've never had the flu, so I'm probably okay, probably young enough to fight it off. So, on the topic of COVID, we got an announcement in Scotland that things were starting to open up. So 6th of April, things ease a little bit. 26th of April, that's when we're sort of allowed to go back a few months to roaming around your local authority area, if you like, I believe. And then beyond that, I think that's when we go to stage 2, 1 and 0, so about June, July. And that's when we can get back out to pubs properly. I think 26th of April you can book places, but I'm not sure if you're allowed drinks at it.
I think it's outdoor. One thing I'll say is, and we touched on this before in an episode, I can't mind which one, so I can't plug it, but every date that they've given for COVID restrictions has been altered, changed, or the rules have been amended. So again, take it with a pinch of salt. Nothing's confirmed. I've seen people booking holidays. My wife, she works in the wedding business. She's had brides coming to her to get married. I'm like, you have to be fucking mad. Like, I will not book a holiday this year. I will not book a holiday. If I'm looking to go away, I'll stay within Scotland. But I don't think it's going to be as simple as everyone says. Like, let's be honest. Let's go back to Christmas time. Everybody was like, 2021, the start of the year, the minute that clock ticks, we're all going to be fine.
Nope.
Arguably, I wouldn't say we're worse. Well, in the UK, we're really lucky that we're probably the world leaders in the jab, the vaccine, thank you. The vaccine. We're probably the industry leaders in the world at the moment, which is really cool. But it's still got a long way to go. This isn't going anywhere. Like, people are sitting thinking, oh, we're going to be going out partying and we're not going to be wearing masks. For example, I would guess the mask regime is going to be here for another couple of years at least.
Oh, I think that's actually got to become normal, unfortunately. That's just got to become part of life now.
I just pray that we can get some sort of balance and industries are looked equally, because there was definitely certain industries, and I'm talking Scotland mainly here, education and hospitality especially, were just destroyed. Like, they were treated disgustingly, and like, you look at especially hospitality, people were so flexible in their approach. People invested money to make them safe. Like, people bought outdoor areas, and then it was just a case of, no, we're just closing, and it was still an absolute free-for-all. You just look at the thing that upsets me is you look at retail. There's no, like, you wear a mask in retail and then you touch everything and there's no 2 meters. It's just, I'm not going to go down it because it's dead negative. The only thing I would say is, if we keep going the way that we're doing with the vaccine, hopefully by summer we'll be in a place where we're not having video calls. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the ideal, isn't it? I mean, just after the announcement, I think it was the day after it, a few pubs started posting about their outdoor area. There's a big one in Glasgow, and so what I've done is I sent it to a big group of us, like a group of my mates that we would typically go for food or go for drinks at the weekend. and we're like 100%, let's get it booked. It's like all these big picnic benches and you can turn up in groups. Although it's outdoors, it's coming up for summer, it'll be warm enough if you wear a jacket. So I'm thinking that would be good. I'm just keeping my eye on the prize, that outdoor pint eventually when we can get to it. Really looking forward to it.
What'll be your first pint?
Whatever's the quickest one to come out, whatever the first one I see is, will be my first pint. The first one available, whatever the fuck it is.
Make me a deal that's not Terence.
I don't give a fuck what it is. Somebody could piss into a beer font and pour it into a pint glass. That would do me. Just choking for a pint of a pub. Anything, I'll argue this, right? I don't like Tennent's. I think it is the pish of the pish. Scottish, so I'll drink it for half day. But when you're outside and the sun is hammering down on you, you're with your mates, there's music on, you're maybe outside at a picnic bench at a beer garden. As long as it's cold and quite a crisp beer, like quite a carbonated beer with a decent head in it, I'll drink it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I don't think it matters what we actually have. I think that first drink you have out is going to be sensational. And we're looking at, again, time in podcast in typical fashion, focusing on the alcohol side. One of the great things is going to be as well, we can plan. Like, Ewan has actually been the best out of all three of us for this, and he comes up with these great ideas that would transition into great video content that I would watch personally.
We can't do it.
Well, we can't fucking do it. We sit here and go, this is my house in ESO, and do you know what I mean? But it's because we're so restricted, and some of the stuff we want to do is going to be awesome. And I think that's one of the things I'm looking most forward to as well, that we can say, right, here's a day, we're going to go do this, and that trans into something a bit more exciting. And the thing is as well, the balance that I've got at the moment, certainly, I don't know about you, I work, I come home, I walk the dogs, I have my tea, I go on the PC for a bit, and I go to bed. And it's kind of been like that now for pretty much the whole year, yeah. And I would quite like to break it up and be like, let's do this. And that's why I've been fortunate enough, because I actually technically had key worker status, that I was managing to drive out with the county that I stay in Scotland, and I managed to drive through and see you guys at the doorstep, to be fair. But it would just be cool to do that, as well as obviously having a drink.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's got to me is doing sport, I think I've been training a minimum of 3 times a week since I was about 13. And I've only ever stopped when I've been injured. And I couldn't do physical activity anyway, and it was for a maximum of 6 weeks whenever it was like a bad injury. And now it's been almost a year. It's the longest I haven't done sport for now. Although I could kind of get out and do a bit at the start myself, or with like another person. Maybe past 6 months, I've almost done nothing. And then I've been going out running recently because it's sort of, you can see it in the horizon. Exercise yourself is just, it's not the same. I hate to say it, I'm competitively driven. It's like when, say, you lose a thing at training, it's like a mini game, and then there's a punishment, so you have to do runs. I'll make sure I'm first in that run. I'll make sure I'm fastest, I'm off the line quickest, and I'm back first. Even if I'm not fit enough to do that at the time, I'll see who's first, and I will hammer it. I'll tell myself I'll match them. Whoever's quickest at the time, stick with them the whole of the training session. Match whatever they do. Try and beat whatever they do. You do that for 6 weeks, you're good. I find it takes me 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm back at close to my peak, and I'm okay. So I'm looking forward to that. And on the fitness topic, I would go to gyms when it was the off season and I didn't have proper training on. And Bundy has never been an exercise or gym or sports person in his life, but during lockdown, he's actually got into it a bit more. And so we've agreed that when the gym's open, 26th of April, we're going to go back to the gym, because that happens before like indoor sports are allowed and stuff, or team sports, I think. So we're going to go to the gym, get that going, and then hopefully that keeps him in the routine of going to the gym and keeping fit.
I think
so
I think one of the biggest things is that you need that drive, and when you don't have that, like, for how long was I on furlough? I know you and Bundy worked the whole time. I was on furlough so long, and you think, oh yeah, great, I get to sit about and play games and sit in my garden and stuff. And yeah, for a period of time that was really good. It's one of the main reasons I moved jobs. Like, I was at the stage, I cannot do this anymore. I need a reason to get up in the morning. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds really dark, but I need a reason to get up and go.
It does. I mean, see, even if you take a 2-week holiday from work just at home, it wears pretty thin after about a week or 10 days, I find. So having a few months of it, I can sympathise with you.
Well, here's a bit of a comparison. So prior to my job, I was staying up to about 1-2 o'clock most days in the morning. I was getting up about the back of 10, so I lost half the day anyway. By the time I was washed, set up, etc., I put on over 2 stone to my normal weight. Even with being semi-what active, so in 3 months I've lost almost 2 stone. I've got a sleeping pattern where I'm up at the latest 7 o'clock, even on my days off, and like the way physically like I feel and look better, I think, and like the differences as well. See, when people have seen me, they're like, you look like a different person, and it just shows you how easily you can get in a rut. So here's hoping. I know this has been a long tangent from this this point, but here's hoping we get things open and people get to live their lives again, mate.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And even just, for example, see when we can go to the gym, I'm looking forward to being able to see Bundy in person instead of speaking to him on the phone. So like us, I'm looking forward to giving you a phone saying, you busy this weekend, we'll go play golf. And we can meet each other for a game of golf, that kind of thing. Stuff we've not been able to do for months, and stuff that we almost took for granted before. So I'm looking forward to that. And maybe one last thing to talk about before we finish up is that although we've been quite proud of the consistency with which we've been uploading since episode 1, life is starting to get in the way a bit, as Craig mentioned, and as is evidenced by Bundy not being here tonight. And with things getting back to normal, this is probably got to be even more so, as training comes in, work involves travelling to a workplace again. So it's got to become more of an issue. With that said, we plan to continue uploading episodes fairly frequently, but it won't be as regular as weekly. So the quality won't dip. If anything, the quality will rise because we won't need to do filler episodes.
Yep.
Like this one. And hopefully, as things open up a bit more, as Craig said, we've got incredible videos planned. Like I'm talking, these are the kind of videos I would click on and watch, whether it's a competition between the 3 of us or going and doing something wild, or I won't ruin them because I reckon there's 5 of them that in my head are like top tier videos, and being fairly new to video editing, it's got to take a while. It's not going to be an episode a week, it's not even going to be a video a week, but we could maybe end up doing an episode every 2 weeks, every month, and a video every month. That seems about right.
I think it's more now that we make content that we're happy to put out there and we're proud to put out there. I think if you look back at some of the episodes, there is sometimes a clear difference when you can see that we've went, fuck, we need to do an episode this week. And it's been that almost term that Ewan said, that filler episode. I think if we have something that we believe that's entertaining from our side, that you guys find it entertaining as well. Ewan? You're right. Ewan?
Sorry, I've had pause recording. Can you say what you said to when you started recording? My computer done a wee freeze.
What do you need me to say from?
See just where you started talking.
So just about going to talk on what you said about the episode?
Yeah.
The episode stuff, right, okay. Tell me when you're ready.
No.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like, I think it's quite clear looking at our previous episodes, you can see where we've done filler episodes was the term you used, which I think is fair. And it was that case, like, we would be looking going, fuck, we need to get an episode out this week. And I think now we would rather work towards something that we would find entertaining as well, something that we'd go, oh, I'm gonna check that out. Things like Cool Brewing, like, that didn't happen in a couple of days. That took a lot of time, and these guys took the time out their busy schedule to come do it with us, and we'd kind of like to be to that level that we're speaking to people that are really interesting. That's not dampened on anyone we spoke to. We really appreciate all the guests we've had on, but maybe some of the episodes that have kind of been ourselves, like, we would rather have something and say, this was what we've done. We haven't lost our drive, not at all, but it's been I think it's fair to say it's been a difficult road. Like, we've put a lot of time into this, excuse the pun. We've put a lot of time into other platforms, and we have seen some success, but We've seen a dip of that success recently, and I think now we can either go down the path of keep doing content every week regularly, and kind of set statutory, or kind of take a step back and say, right, okay, we're not really growing. Evaluate. We're not really growing at the rate we would hoped, which is fine, but can we make adjustments on the quality of content that we do to bring new people in? Because we absolutely, for the guys who tune in every week, people like Daryl and Alex, you guys know who you are. We really, really appreciate it, and it's what keeps us going. But we're now looking at what is the next stage to bring in that audience that might not know about us, because there's a big thing when you look at success, especially through social media and stuff, and when you initially start, so we're almost at our first year, a lot of your support initially comes from friends and family, which is amazing. But to break that next mould, it has to be done organically through people you don't know. And that's the cusp we're at the moment. We've had a few people we've met through streaming, etc. But we need to look at it and reevaluate to get to the stage of we've got people naturally coming in.
I think YouTube's probably the platform for that, in all honesty.
Yeah, I would agree. And to be honest, it's not... We all love what we do, but it's frustrating when we can't have the three of us on. Because we all bring different aspects. Ewan's very structured. I probably, fair to say, I'm quite the techie side, kind of like the actual. And Bundy's Bundy. He brings the entertainment.
Bundy's the creative side. Yeah,
he's the exciting one. He's the one you really want to watch, and that's the dynamic it works. And the way we're set up at the moment, it's just we want to get to the next level. So I think Ewan and I and Bundy have spoke about it, and it's fair for, I think it's a good point for all of us. I think we'll probably do like a shortened video on this, just condensed. We'll put it in social media and see if anybody's got feedback on it. But for us to improve, I don't see as much point just doing weekly content for the sake of it. I think we'd rather do content that we agree is to the standard that we want, and to the standard that people are going to click on, and people are going to say, oh, have you checked out these guys? Or because our goal, well, my personal goal still is to be Scotland's #1 podcast, and we're still a long way from that. But that's my big goal, and that's not going to stop because we're not putting out an episode every week.
So, with the news sort of aside, and that little note on how we'll be less frequently at the moment, but the content should improve, especially on YouTube, which will hopefully become our main platform. And any of the listeners who listen every week, as Craig said, really appreciate it. Give us a shout if you want to jump in on one. We're always looking for people to do an episode with. Whether it's Darrow to come on and talk about comics again. To be fair, that was a bit of an education for me, that episode. Or if Alex wanted to come on and talk about building his PC, it's something we've all been through recently. It's something we're all interested in. I'm up for hearing your struggles, Alex. There was one topic I wanted to leave to last because I don't tend to put topics in terms of importance, and although COVID's important, it's sort of been a chronic thing and that it's happened over a long time. Something quite recently happened with regards to gender, if you like. So a woman was murdered walking home by a policeman, I believe.
Yeah.
And so I've been having a little think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to my girlfriend about it. I think you could probably do the same and get the same answer, Craig. If you ask your girlfriend, have you and everyone in your friend group been sexually assaulted, whether that's someone grabbing your arse on a night out, or even do you still get heckled, like, you know, people shouting at you across the road, or, you know, just stuff like that, even that kind of thing. And then she actually said to me, she went, can you see my tits through this shirt? You know how the buttonholes and then you can get a gap? I was like, a wee bit, only when it's like bumbled up. Why? She went, oh, it's creepy folk I'm working with today, so I need to make sure I sit left side of them. I was like, you shouldn't have to think about that. That should they? You know, it's just...
This is
it kind of pisses me off.
Aye, I think is I've got a lot of flaws.
And we don't experience it.
I've got a lot of flaws, but one of the biggest things I say that I'm good at, I am acceptance of sex, or whatever. I treat everyone the same, and I like to surround myself around different types of people, whether it be sex, race, religion, whatever it is. the fact is, there's still this stigma, and my wife had it today. She was working on a whiskey distillery, and she was working with power tools, and they had electricians, plumbers, this sort of thing, and doing works, and she got given the comment, "Oh, do you know how to use that? Do you know what you're doing with that?" And her reply was, "Oh, is it because I've got tits?" Which is funny, because I could use that reply as well, but maybe not to the same degree. But it's still that stigma, and it's just not right. I think Steph and I have talked about this loads, but I think there's certainly some people that don't do any favours for women in the way they speak out. But yes, there's still definitely a problem, and I don't think it's fair to put this sort of these sort of rules in for women that can't go out over certain curfews. This sort of thing.
Not right. And it's not.
It's just it doesn't.
I think there's like a level to it. So you know how they were saying, text me when you're home safe. That's something my girlfriend does with me. I think that's universal. So I think that's maybe taking it a bit far.
Aye, it's if you want a read on it. So it was back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. The Yorkshire.
Wait for you then, Craig.
I wasn't alive, you prick. But it was the Yorkshire Ripper. So he was the guy going about killing all of these women, and they put a curfew in, and women protested and went out in the streets and were like, "Look, this isn't right. Just because we're women doesn't mean we should be treated in any different way." And I think it's, you look at that, like, let's learn from the past, and the world's evolved now. Like, see these people that go, "Oh, I'm not working with them because they're from so and so," or that's not how the world works anymore. We need to evolve, and I would argue that we have substantially. Like, you look at things like, I'm going away from sex, but you look at RuPaul and drag and how that's became like part of general culture now.
Mainstream.
Mainstream. That's the term I'm looking for, and it's respected by lots of people. Like, we've evolved. Like, this nonsense about, "Oh, you're a woman, you shouldn't be after this time." It's just shit. The world needs to grow up. We're not at that stage anymore.
How do you fix it? Because this is something that's stuck in my head, and I listened to a podcast, I know you listen to it as well, and there was a clip in it that I found quite funny, because it almost demonstrates where the issue comes from. And it was a guy who had messaged into a podcast talking about he was having sex with his girlfriend, and his mum almost walked in on them. And I think his mum kind of knew what was going on, so she was trying to stop it. And then it was that thing. It said, "What would you do if that was your son upstairs?" And he was like, "Oh, I would PayPal him £20 to get a pizza and celebrate." And I thought that was quite funny. And then he twisted that, and he was like, "No, hear me out." And he went, No, I think that's brilliant. He's up there, try to get it." And then he went, "All right, so same situation. What if that's your daughter?" And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm PayPaling the guy £20 to please stop." See, for that point right there, switches. So from as young as being still with your mum and dad, which is where I think it probably needs to change. I think parents aren't educating their sons correctly, and maybe not explaining harshly enough, this is acceptable, this isn't. And I think that's probably where it stems from.
I still think the media is a massive factor as well, mate. Like,
it is. 100%.
Let's be honest, like, young teenage girls and guys, their lives in looking at social media, and you look at it, and to be honest, it's one of these things, you don't realise it till you start talking about it. Like, we've just said, both of us had an example of it today with our partners. Like, that's mental. I don't know what to say about it, man. It's shit, and we need to evolve from it and learn. We're all in this shit together. Like, that's one of the good things about COVID. You look around the world, doesn't matter where you are or who you are, it's fucked all of us. I think we just need to educate ourselves, which, like you said, is probably the best way to say it. And it needs to be not just parents, but the fucking social media side. Like, women get sexualised ridiculously. Like, people argue that they try to do it with people like Chris Hemsworth and stuff. It's not done in the same way. Like, for example, someone's wearing a bikini. Like, there was ones of Katy Perry, right, who recently had a baby. Her and Orlando Bloom were on holiday, and she's in a bikini, and they're going mental, and it's all over the media. Were they going mental all over the media because Orlando Bloom's in a pair of shorts? It's still that. Exactly. It's still that. It's just shite, and I really hope the world evolves. And
you know how the Black Lives Matter campaign all kind of kicked off, and the last person I expected to speak so eloquently on it was Logan Paul, but he
smashed it, mate.
When he said it's not enough to not be racist, you have to be actively anti-racist.
Yeah.
I think that probably applies to this as well, if not more so. So it's okay to say, it's not all men, it wasn't me. Fine. If your mate does it and you do fuck all about it, you're just as bad.
Yeah.
You can't say it's not all men because you are complicit, compliant. It's one of the two words.
Complacent.
And so if your mate's just being a dick, just say, I'm like, stop being a wanker, stop being a creep, stop being a arsehole. Because if you've got a girlfriend, you sort of see things a bit different.
You do.
Because you think, what if that was my girlfriend? What was that if that was my daughter, my sister, whatever? It would piss you off. So think it from that perspective if you need to. You shouldn't have to. But, have a word with your mate if he's being like that.
Yeah, I think the big problem is this word generalisation. Like, people generalise and say, all men are sexist and all women are mistreated. Yes, there's definitely a problem there, and from both parties, but
only a Sith deals in absolutes.
I'd
take a Star Wars quote.
There you go. But I think we need to be a bit smarter than that, and I think that's where people get pissed off. And you get certain feminists, which I totally support what they do, but some of them just take it ridiculous and be like, all men are perverts, or men are like all women should be looked at, and it's I think when you see there's an issue, the majority isn't great, right? But don't hit everyone with the same brush, to speak. But the factor is as well, and I'm a true believer in this, if you're a prick, you get treated like a prick. It doesn't matter if you're a woman, if you're a man, if you're gay, if you're disabled. If someone's an arsehole, you're an arsehole, right? It's as simple as that. So say, for example, somebody's been an absolute bellend to you, it's a woman, and you call them out in it, and they say, oh, you're treating me like a woman. Again, take it with a pinch of salt. Or, again, if someone might be disabled and you turn around and say, you're a fucking idiot or whatever, piss off, and then somebody says, oh, you can't say that, they're disabled, you're like, no, this is me giving them equal rights, do you know what I mean? But I am no expert in this field, I'm not even going to pretend, but there's an issue there.
Remember 21 Jump Street?
Yes.
There was a quote in that I thought about, and I thought, this is bizarre. So, at the start of the movie, he punches, I can't remember his name, he punches a guy in the face, and he goes, and turn that gay ass music off. And he goes, what, you punched me because I'm gay? He was like, no, I didn't punch you because you were gay. And they went, actually, it might have been homophobic if he didn't punch you because you were gay. And I was thinking, what? I was like, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're being a cunt, you'll get punched. It's just,
going back to
people will be a prick to you.
Aye, going back to your original question though, there's a massive problem there. The stigma that women are getting isn't right, and it needs resolved, and it's not just from people themselves, media, everybody needs to be looked at, and I really hope it gets resolved, because it's not cool. It's not cool.
I mean, it was ironic that happened, and you seen people making wide comments on it and being difficult, mostly guys, to be fair, just being dicks about it. And it was the same week they were posting nice stuff on Mother's Day to their mum. I thought, come on, man, it's like, make your mind up. Which one are you? You a cunt or are you not? Yeah, you can't do both of those. Those are contradictory statements you're making, really.
Yeah, there's no excuse. Someone has lost their life. It's extremely sad, and it needs to be treated properly.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. On that cheery note, Craig, let's wrap up. Thanks for joining us for episode 42. Again, might not be back next week, but we should be back in the next month, so keep an eye out for any episodes going up. We'll post it on social media, Twitter, Instagram. We'll have like a story up. You should get a notification on Spotify.
Yes.
Pod. I don't know if you get one on Podbean. I don't know if you get one on iTunes, but you can set it up so you get notifications. So switch them on. Look out for us. Get in contact if you want to join us for an episode, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. So, Ewan, because we've talked quite a lot about upcoming fights, can you give me some predictions?
Yep. We've got Jake Paul to beat Ben Askren.
Yep.
Tyson Fury to beat AJ.
Yep.
Meghan Markle to beat that cunt Piers Morgan.
Fuck you, Piers.